wanted to get to this. Broke earlier this morning that Andrew Tate and his brother, who have been charged with human trafficking in Romania, are back in the United States. The United States lifted travel restrictions that had previously been imposed because of the well-documented human trafficking efforts. We had, what's it called? What's the name of that book that we had those guests on with Matt Shea and Jamie Tassin?
Clown World.
Clown World, where they dove deep into the Andrew Tate world and even went to one of his kind of multi-level marketing scheme pimp.
They're pimps for cam girls. They entrapped young women that were basically looking for any sort of guidance, which is what sort of often happens with sex traffickers. And they were entrapped into making content for them online.
And people should check out that interview if they haven't yet, because it just shows how exploitative and really disgusting this is, where this new kind of online brand of misogyny culture, it's about using women essentially as gig sex workers and then disposing of them after you've exploited them. And it's not necessarily about controlling your wife in the marital sense. It's about humiliating women and tallying a body count, right? It's a very violent form of misogyny. And I think about this a lot, right? And the environment that we're in right now. That the Trump re-election this second time around was a lot of things. I think, it's about mass disaffection with the Democratic Party because of cost of living and housing being out of control. It's about Biden not being unable to use the bully pulpit and communicate with the public, so people didn't know anything about what the Democrats were doing, even the good things. And what they did know was, hey, there's a genocide that's happening on my phone. And then you have, though, broadly, a misogynistic backlash to the Me Too movement. And Trump coming into office kind of generating that energy, or, it was the grab him by the P word tapes, more Me Too, Biden gets elected. And then we have really in this time period, the rise of these misogynistic manosphere influencers, and Trump gets reelected, put up against a black female candidate who we talked about doing violence against openly at his rallies. And you kind of have this toxic misogynistic stew that I think we're living in right now. And frankly, when you look at fascist movements in the past, pairing misogyny with a cost of living crisis, it's had success for fascists historically. So it's scary. And it seems like Trump was integral in freeing Andrew Tate. And oddly, Ron DeSantis is pissed about it. We'll see more about this story, but Tate touched down in Miami, I guess earlier this morning, and Ron DeSanctimonious asked about it at the press conference.
Welcome here. What the state do to send back to Romania or whatever?
We have no involvement in that. I read about it through the media. Clearly, the federal government has jurisdiction, whether they want to rebuff his entry into the United States. And I have confidence that whether it's Pam Bondi or Kristi Noem, that they will be looking at that. I do know our Attorney General, James Uthmeyer, is looking at what state hooks and jurisdiction we may have to be able to deal with this. But the reality is no, Florida is not a place where you're welcome. With that type of conduct in the air. And I don't know how it came to this. We were not involved. We were not notified. I found out through the media that this was something that was happening. Okay, guys.
You know why it happened?
Because the Republicans supported a rapist with a fake university for president?
Kind of. And also, Barron Trump's a fan. Trump's a fan of Andrew Tate and Aiden Ross and those guys. Yeah.
Is Matt Gaetz' seat still open? Because I think, Florida District 1 has to be represented by a sex criminal. So they got I think
that's their DEI. Diversity includes some sort of quota for rapists.
Yeah, and I think the real problem is that they're not getting a homegrown Floridian sex criminal. They're importing one. It's like an H-1B visa situation all over again.
They're taking our sex pest jobs. It's fascinating to see this, especially as the Trump administration is loudly advertising that they're going to release the Epstein flight logs. Why don't you release the files that are a little bit more pertinent in this case? I know that some of the stuff is redacted, but they are not going to release, in the same way that Trump is doing this head fake about the JFK files too. They can't release more information than a limited hangout on Epstein because of, Donald Trump's deep and close friendship with Jeffrey Epstein.
Pam Bondi was the Florida Attorney General when Epstein was getting let off. What this stuff is, when Trump talks about it, whether it's the UFO stuff or, which I think is probably the most meaningless of all this, but the UFO stuff or the JFK stuff, is he is announcing that he is taking note of bargaining chips. And if the CIA wants him to, say, not release the redacted Schlesinger memo where JFK talked about what he wanted to do to the CIA, which is one of the ones that is still being withheld, if the CIA doesn't want that released, then they should give him something in return for it, like they did last time, and when he kept it clear. And I mean, also the Epstein stuff, he is I don't know if Trump was in Dallas in 1963. He is a associate of Jeffrey Epstein, who is also a guy who Jeffrey Epstein fixed up Elon Musk's brother with a girlfriend. So all these guys are insanely implicated with what looks to be, if I had to guess, a massive mutual blackmail operation where they do communal sex crimes. This is just me spitballing. Communal sex crimes, and have dirt on everybody else so they know nobody will talk. Because I do know another similarity between Epstein and Elon Musk is they're obsessed with spreading their seed as widely as possible in a really fucking weird way. And I would be shocked if they never discussed that.
Oh, of course. Of course. Just to plug Julie K. Brown here, making this exact point. Brown is the really kind of foremost authority journalist on Jeffrey Epstein. She broke the initial story about the cozy deal that he got from Acosta. Mm-hmm. So she's a Miami-based reporter and has written a book called Perversion of Justice, the Jeffrey Epstein story. She says, it's interesting to note that Pam Bondi was Florida's attorney general 2011 to 2019, a period of time when Jeffrey Epstein's plane records became public, victims' lawsuits were filed, and a lot of new evidence against Epstein surfaced. So questions should be asked why she did not take up the case or launch a probe when she was attorney general in Florida. And we know the answer. We know the answer that there was frankly, an elite conspiracy to prevent Jeffrey Epstein from facing accountability. It seems abundantly clear.
Acosta himself said there was intelligence connections that meant we have to go easy on him. He was a very important asset to a lot of folks, I think, is what hopefully people are taking away from this, including Israeli intelligence. Ghislaine Maxwell's father was Mossad. Mossad, not just any Mossad, high-level Mossad. So,
and then you have former Israeli prime minister riding on Jeffrey Epstein's plane, and Israeli intelligence and U.S. intelligence work very closely together.
And I was saying this because just in the we've talked about this a lot in the context of why a lot of these cabinet secretaries are useful for Trump, Hegseth's proclivities as a drinker, as a allegedly a drinker, and have in his alleged sex crimes as well. They're an asset to Trump to use against him. But the same thing with Bondi. Bondi's useful in the way that she's shown that she would do anything for him. When also she dropped the Trump University lawsuit in Florida as well after he donated to her campaign. So she's very much all of the good tentacles of what Trump looks for in a confidant, his own wanting to his own Roy Cohn, as it were, for Attorney General. She embodies, and we've also seen that in how reticent they are about the Epstein stuff, as we saw from that interview that Trump had last year, where he was like, "That's a little bit more marginal, the Epstein stuff. We don't have to go there."
Yeah, that's not good.
Did you see who just left the White House earlier today? The photos.
I did not.
Okay, so there's a group of people who left the White House today, posing for the camera with binders they received from Bondi, labeled "The Epstein Files, Phase 1." And ready for the list of people who they gave them to?
Who?
The MAGA meme guy on Twitter, DC Drano. Former news
Did he win a
person turned
Pulitzer?
former news person turned conspiracy theorist Liz Wheeler, our good friend Mike Cernovich, Jack Posobiec, and libs of TikTok. So this is going to
Nightmare
be
blood
like
rotation.
this is going to be like Twitter Files, 2.0.
Right.
Where they
Yeah.
carefully crafted exactly what to give and who to give it to, and to get out exactly what they want.
Because this is all information. Julie K. Brown again points this out. The second tweet I sent you, Bradley. Just go to the first one she says, and then her reply. There is no Jeffrey Epstein client list, period. It's a figment of the internet's imagination and a means just to slander people. I mean, this isn't to say that there aren't associations that we need to explore.
Like between the Clintons and Jeffrey Epstein.
Which we're not partisan about it. The Clintons and the Trumps, we should be looking into their connections with Jeffrey Epstein.
Should be locking them up.
Yeah, but her response to this person, so obviously there's no list, but just as obvious, the federal government has a file related to Epstein, right? Says, well, if you actually read my book or anyone's, you would know that the FBI file on Epstein is public. Google it in the FBI's vault. It's, however, heavily redacted. So, yes, there's a file. Now, there are redactions that are going to be for victims' names, but there will also be redactions for folks that may be sensitive and a part of it. But the list that they're circulating has already been the subject of like conspiracy theories for quite a while. And the fact that they're handing it to Chaya Wright-Chick.
It's what's known as a shit coat, which is basically a type of a limited hangout to reveal sort of secrets done in a way that's so stupid and disgusting that most people won't even touch it, which is how most people will view this.
But
The thing is that the folks who care most about who claim to care most about the Epstein list on the right, they're the ones who demean and belittle the actual like people who should be revealed, because they're the ones who constantly share the fake Epstein lists that are out there. Like Tom Hanks's name on the internet is, for whatever you think of Tom Hanks, the actor, his name is forever in the mud because you can't write his name on the internet without people calling him a pedophile. Why do they call him a pedophile? He's done nothing to prove anything like that. It's all because his name appeared on a fake, completely debunked, non-realistic Epstein client list, and they wanted to use that when he came out and like said something pro COVID vaccines or something to try to hurt his credibility. Now, anytime Tom Hanks, the actor's name, is said online, you have hundreds of people calling him a pedophile.
Yeah, no, it's exactly. I just to connect it to the Andrew Tate stuff. This is just what makes it so ridiculous, like, and has it ring so hollow. Really? Do you care about do you care about groomers? Do you care about groomers, or do you just essentially want to go after LGBTQ people? Really? Do you care about sex trafficking, or is this just a way to crack down on immigrants and make a case that another marginalized group that you're targeting is a bunch of people that are targeting folks and kids for sex crimes? I mean, it's just so obvious what they're doing, but
the most vocal ones
fall for it.
The most vocal ones have been proved to be rapists and pedophiles themselves. There is numerous incidents of like Jan 6 folks or people that were really promoting that movie from
Sound of Freedom.
That they are actual abusers and themselves. But the other thing is so many Trump supporters. I mean, Kevin Sorbo, Minnesota native, alumni of Minnesota State University, like myself. Unlike myself, he is in Jeffrey Epstein's little black book with his full contact details. Also, Jason Calacanis, a venture capitalist, Trump supporter, a big crypto guy, who's one of these guys out here saying, release the client list. You're in the black book, buddy. Like,
wait, Kevin Sorbo is in the black book? I didn't see that.
He is, yeah.
See, that's an example of a guy that should 100% be investigated, because it's not even like he's one of those money guys who ostensibly would have crossed Epstein in like the actual business that Epstein claimed to do, like the financiering stuff. Like, what the hell is some low-level actor doing in Epstein's book if he's not partaking in as a customer in the services that like are within his like his financial range? Like, that's unbelievable that he is in that book.
Yeah,
like that's not a guy making some big business loans and dealings. That's a guy who's looking for services.
maybe
Allegedly.
Jeffrey was just a big fan of Sorbo and his work.
Hercules. Yeah, I mean, go. We didn't watch the
Name another thing he's done.
Yeah, I
quick.
can't.
God's Not Dead 1.
Guy's not dead, right?
How could I forget?
Picked the wrong person for that question.
I think God's Not Dead 2 is the one that sticks out in my mind. Is that
That's
the
a good
courtroom
one.
drama with Melissa
Yeah, that's
Joan
the good
Hart?
one. And Ray Wise, yeah, that's a really good one.
I mean, much like I would say the Lord of the Rings series, the middle one is the best, or the second one. Maybe there's God's Not Dead 6, and I'm mixing.
I would say with the
up.
God's Not Dead's movie, the even numbered ones are the best. Like 2 and 4 are pretty good, and then 1 and 3 are kind of boring.
Well, the
Although when
odd
Kevin
numbers
Sorbo
would
gets
be
hit by that car,
satanic. So
when Kevin Sorbo gets hit by a car in the first one, spoiler, that part's pretty good. But like other than that,
Well, the first one's got the whole like surprise element of like, what am I getting myself into? What the hell is this movie? After that, all the sequels, you know what to expect, so it's not as like, fun, I guess.
not as novel.
Yeah.
I might have to retract the Sorbo in the Black Book thing. That
Did you fall for the fake?
I fell for the fake image. Yeah.
But this is what Brown is saying. Like, this is a show trial. This is theater. They're pretending they're being transparent, and they're trying to mislead people, which is the UFO thing too.
And this just goes like what just happened shows you that like just how these guys have demeaned this to the point where it even left the right wing circles, and now you have people pointing fingers and accusations at all sorts of people who were in Epstein's a book or not. That at this point, who's going to even believe the official thing? People are going to obviously like just say whatever they want to say. I mean, certainly you can't believe who they gave it to, these actors of these right wing bad actors. But I mean, it's just the whole thing is a shit show.
Yeah.
And being weaponized by the right, which is like how the Democrats let the right sort of make use out of the JFK assassination is sort of why they've also, to the Trita Parsi interview earlier, been unable to be the anti-war party. It's corrupt by this military establishment people.
Hey folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.